The U.S. has so far leaned on Qatar to be the main mediator in negotiating with Hamas. But what other steps could the U.S. be taking to bring Americans home? Let's bring in Adam Bowler. He helped negotiate the Abraham Accords and negotiated with the Taliban on behalf of the Trump administration. Adam, good to have you with us. You know this region. You know the players involved. If you were in a position to be helping out, what would you suggest the U.S., even Israel, do to win the release of these hostages?
Good to see you, John. So a few things that I would say. One is Qatar can be very helpful to us here. They have in the past. And I will say, you mentioned negotiating with the Taliban. When I was negotiating with the Taliban, I was doing it in Doha, in Qatar, on our base there. And so there are certain people, and Qataris are like them, and I think of them a little bit trying to play the role of Switzerland in the Middle East. And so Qatar has a very important role here, and I believe the U.S. is and should use them as a go-between between some people that are very unsavory from a hostage perspective. So that's one view. The second thing is the United States and Israel need to not forget that they were attacked by terrorists. The United States continues to be attacked by terrorists, by proxies of Iran, and that they need to stand strong. And Israel needs to do what it set out to do, which is eliminate Hamas from the Gaza Strip.
There have been calls from President Biden, from his closest advisors, for a pause in the ground operation by Israel in order to try to win the release of some hostages. Netanyahu dismissed that yesterday and, in fact, said he thought that bringing pressure to bear on Hamas militarily might actually help in the hostage situation. Listen to what he said.
Hamas will not do it unless they're under pressure. They simply will not do it. They only do it under pressure. This creates pressure. But we're committed to getting all the hostages back home. We think that this method stands a chance.
What do you think about that assessment?
I mean, the alternative, what we're discussing, is waiting and appeasement. And think, how well did that work in 1979 when President Carter tried to do that with hostages in Iran? It doesn't work in this region. So I agree, you're going to push through strength here. It's not an easy answer. Sometimes the best answers are not easy. But in this particular case, you've got to push forward with the mission from Hamas. You still keep communication channels open. They will be open. The Qataris will ensure that. But you can't appease. It's not going to work in this region.
Oh, okay, so then here's the big question. The reason you would negotiate, if you were Hamas, a hostage release would be to save your hide. But Benjamin Netanyahu says he's going to destroy Hamas, which I think you could take to mean he wants to kill everybody in the senior leadership of Hamas. So what incentive does Hamas have to negotiate?
There's many degrees of destroying Hamas. I'm sure that as Israel thinks about eradicating Hamas, there's eradicating Hamas from the Gaza Strip and replacing it with a government that actually represents the Palestinians. That's one. The other one is killing every single member. And so there are degrees of gray here for sure. I'm sure Hamas knows that. But if the degree they're looking at is nothing, I guarantee there won't be that much forthcoming. If there are some degrees within here, there's always degrees of gray and shades of gray. That's what they're going to play with.